but we have also been drawn inexorably to a question of space, to that physicality of our continent, which has in so many ways formed and shaped us. And in films specifically that I have been able to do with my best friend, Dayton Duncan, from our town of Walpole, New Hampshire, on the West, on Lewis and Clark, on Mark Twain, on Horatio's Drive, we have tried to come to terms with all of the contradictory and exultant themes that sort of come to the surface when you deal with our continent and its magnificent promise. This interest has come to its head. It represents its apotheosis for us in exploration of the national parks. The film that WETA in this town and PBS across the nation will begin broadcasting tomorrow. And by the way, WETA is broadcasting it at 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 again tomorrow. So don't tell me on Monday morning you didn't know when it was on. The film that they are broadcasting represents, as Maria said, a 10-year effort on our part. It is a history of the national parks. It is not a travelogue. It is not a nature film per se, though we think it has beautiful images of nature. It is not a recommendation of which lodge or inn to stay at when you take your family on vacation. Rather, it is a history of the ideas and individuals that made this uniquely American thing happen. For the first time in human history, land was set aside not for kings or noblemen or the rich, as all land had been disposed through all of human history, but for everyone, all of you, and for all time. We love the idea that this was an American invention, like our idea of freedom has been exported around the world. In fact, we began to understand that the film we were making was the story of the Declaration of Independence applied to the landscape. It was a growing, evolving idea, just like the United States. And it was a prism through which one could see refracted much more than the history of adding beautiful spaces or wildlife or historical sites to this collection of parks. It was something more that got to the essence of us. And so we have pursued this tale for a long time. And the film we tell, the book that echoes that film, introduces you to 50 or 60 human beings, most of whom you've never heard of. They come from every walk of life and every conceivable background. The story of American history is usually the story of great men, capital G, capital M, and they are nearly always white. We think of American history as a succession of presidential administrations punctured by wars. It is not. The best of our history comes from the bottom up. And as it turns out, the story of the national parks, naturally occurring, is as diverse as this country. It is a story that is black and brown and red and yellow and female and unknown as much as it is a story of white, famous males. It is a totally bottom-up story. And it is a story of unusual drama. It is not Bambi in the woods. Human beings, and particularly Americans, are acquisitive and extractive. Some have even accused us of rapacious animals. We look at a river and we think dam. We look at a stand of trees and we think bored feet. We look at a canyon and we wonder what mineral wealth we could extract. And so every time we add a park to our system, there was a huge drama, great resistance, and unbelievable forbearance on the part of the people who dedicated their lives and fortunes and sacred honor to this. And so it represents a kind of best of us, a progress in the best sense of the word, and an evolution of our idea of freedom. Thomas Jefferson started off by saying all men are created equal, but of course he meant all white men of property free of debt. We don't mean that anymore, do we? Do we? So too, the national parks set off to set aside obvious national spectacular natural scenery. But we also began to save complicated archaeological sites. We began to save historical sites, diverse habitats like the Everglades, part of our social and military and political history. We saved the symbols of our great republic, the Statue of Liberty, Mount Rushmore, Lincoln Memorial, this mall, these museums. These are all part of a much larger sense of bringing in the story of America into the idea of the national parks. So we weren't just reflecting our geological history or our ancient ethnographic history, but all of American history, and we have been willing to deal with the most complicated parts of it too. So that Manzanar, where Japanese American citizens were shamefully interned during the Second World War, is a site of the National Park Service. Little Rock, Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, still a working inner-city high school, is a unit of the National Park Service where in 1957 the crisis of school desegregation came to a head. Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where United 93 went down, is a unit of the National Park Service. So is Oklahoma City. Everywhere we turn, our great republic has been greater because it's been willing to encompass all of its history. This is but a fraction of the story we try to tell in this 6-part, 12-hour series and in this book. But what we found that was most unexpected, beside the sheer beauty of these places, was the emotion that each one of the historical figures we got to know, each one of the people we interviewed to tell us about those figures, and each one of us who worked on the film felt as we embraced the story of the national parks. And to talk to you